Late on in this game, I'm faced with a huge penalty decision that could decide everything. In matches like these, referees either crumble under the pressure or prove that they're ready for the next level. And the winner of this match will be promoted from Step 8 to Step 7 in the English football pyramid. I officiated my first match just 2 years ago, and now I'm chasing promotion to the semi-professional game. But before I find out, I've got my final test of the season, a playoff final. So like every football match, we start off with the kickoff. But can you notice something? All the red players are lined up on one side of the pitch. When this happens, as a referee, we obviously want to be right there for that first ball, which is exactly what happens. That ball gets played up and we have the perfect vision between the red player and the blue player. And as referees, obviously positioning is super important. So I made a real effort to get into good positions for this game. You'll see that we let play carry on whilst this blue player drives down the wing. And so we make sure to get really wide just in case he decides to drive into the box and there's a potential decision to make there. Nothing comes of it in the end, we just give a goal kick, but early in the game, obviously want to make sure I'm getting into the best position possible. And with position, obviously you want to make sure you're not getting in the way of play either. So on this next phase of play, you'll see that the ball's kind of bouncing around in here and we're constantly kind of scanning, looking around to see if we're in the way of any passing lanes. Sometimes when you're refereeing, the momentum of play will go forwards and then backwards, right? So in this scenario here, the ball gets played down the line. It looks like its play's going to go forward. It doesn't. It ends up moving backwards. And so at this point, I think about backtracking, but if I backtrack, I'm going to get in the way of that pass from the number 8 to that player in the middle. So instead, we realize actually we can just stay where we are. We'll let play come away and we can just stay in that pocket and play will move back and we'll be in an absolutely fine position here, which is what we do. And this game started off really well. Both teams were looking to play football. There were a few instances where people were asking for fouls like this one, but unfortunately I missed it. It does look like a foul to me from this position. The lad obviously takes the ball around the player. That player makes no attempt to play the ball. He just completely blocks the lad off. But unfortunately, as that happens, you'll see that the red number 12 runs straight across my line of vision. So as that contact happens, I actually didn't see the foul and I couldn't make a judgment on whether it was or not. It would be a bit of a risk to give a foul that is not a foul on the edge of the box to the attacking team. And so my best decision in that moment that I could make was to just play on. We do, however, give our first foul of the game in the 8th minute for this. Now, for those of you that watch the channel for a while, you'll know there's a little bit of controversy when people jump in front of the goalkeeper. However, contrary to popular belief, this is not a yellow card. Attempting to stop the keeper or successfully stopping the keeper releasing the ball is not a yellow card offence. It's an indirect free kick only. So we end up having a conversation with the player just saying, look, mate, you can't do that even though you're outside the box. Don't block the keeper off. If you do it again, it'll be a yellow card. This player then goes down way too easy for me. He's already going down by the time the contact happens. So yeah, no foul. Blue team nearly score from it. They obviously complain and I explain to him, no lads, he's gone down way too easy. I'm not giving fouls like that. Not my style. Get used to it. And then we get our first major decision of the game. Red are attacking down the wing, plays the ball inside, delivers the ball, and it strikes the arm of the defender. What do you do? Do you give a penalty or do you give a corner? I very quickly gave a corner, and you'll see my signal. I put my arm down towards the floor and I'm saying to the players, lads, I know it hit his arm, but I think it's a supporting arm and that doesn't mean it's handball. For the purpose of determining handball offences, the upper boundary of the arm is in line with the bottom of the armpit. It's important to note here it says not every touch of the hand or arm with the ball is an offence. It is only an offence if a player deliberately touches the ball with their hand or arm, for example, moving it towards the ball, touches the ball with their hand or arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger. And that's the point where you'll think, actually, this should be handball then because he's made his body unnaturally bigger. A player is considered to have made their body unnaturally bigger when the position of their hand or arm is not a consequence of or justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific situation. A lad sliding in, trying to block a cross with his arm on the floor, supporting his body is not unnatural in my opinion. I don't think it's handball, but let me know what you guys think. We then get a shout for a foul very similar to one in the first half. This is way less of a foul than the first one in my opinion, so just wave it away. It's just not a foul. You'll see this holding here by the number 8 on blue. So we let play carry on, see if we can play an advantage. We can't, and so we bring it back for the original foul. Advantage is when the referee allows play to continue, when an offence occurs and the non-defending team will benefit from the advantage, and then penalises the offence if that advantage does not ensue at the time or within a few seconds. For this, obviously the lad's being pulled back. He's still breaking forward, so we wait and see if anything can develop. It can't, and so we bring it back for the original foul. Then we give the foul against the blue number 9 for this holding here. I do think the red player would have got to the ball before it went out, and so for me that's an offence. There is a big misconception about holding though. Obviously holding is an absolute nightmare at the minute in the box from corners. This isn't the video for that, but I just want to highlight what holding actually is in regards to the laws of the game, because just holding a player is not actually an offence. You'll see that in the definition of holding under the laws of the game, a holding offence occurs only when a player's contact with an opponent's body or equipment impedes the opponent's movement. So if they're both just stood still and the defender's got his hands around the attacker, it's not an offence until that attacker tries to move and it actually impedes their progress. So holding itself is not an offence, it has to have an impact on the player who's being held. For me, even though this holding was fleeting, it was very quick, it does stop the player reaching the ball before the ball goes out, and so for me that's a free kick to give. We then give this corner. Obviously you'll see a few of the players are asking why it's a corner, but I'm hoping you'll see on the slow-mo, I don't have access to this second angle that you're probably about to see if it's here, but you'll see that it does glance off of the defender's back. We then get this foul before half time. You'll see a defender come sliding in from behind and fouls the red player. The way this game had been played had been in such good spirits, and I don't think it's quite a promising attack. You'll see the lad tries to step across the ball and let it run across his body, and if he does that, I do think the blue team would have regained possession anyway. And equally, I don't think it's a reckless tackle. I know sliding in from behind is not good. There's not a ton of force in it. I just think this is a careless foul, so I opt for just a talking to. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is half time. A really good half of football so far, and not a lot to do, which is great. Okay, in these types of games, a playoff final, drama is not what we want. Okay, we want a nice smooth game where everything goes to plan. Let's see if that stays the same in the second half. We start off the half by giving a foul against blue here. He brings the lad down. Unfortunately, the red player lands on number 7's ankle, and so we have all 3 of them down for a little while. None of them wanted treatment, and so we get play moving, and we just have a word with the lad who committed the original foul, just saying, just be careful. We then give this foul against the red player. He makes a small trip there and then attempts to trip the lad the second time. There is no advantage, and so again we bring that foul back. Now, he wasn't successful with his trip, so why have I given the foul? He hasn't actually touched him. A direct free kick is awarded if a player commits any of the following offences against an opponent: trips or attempts to trip. So attempting to trip an opponent is a direct free kick. So when someone says, well, I haven't touched him, ref, I never even touched him, it doesn't matter. You still intended to trip him, and so it's a foul. Now, you could argue here that this is unsporting behaviour, trying to stop a promising attack, whatever you want to call it, but we'd had the foul with that blue team right before the end of the first half, and then we get this right after the start of the second half. So for me, it's a perfect opportunity, seeing as this was the captain, to say, look, I gave them the benefit of the doubt there, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here, but that's it now, okay? We're level, let's be sensible. And then here we get our first yellow card of the game. For me, this was a really clear, reckless tackle. If there was more force in it, I'd have been thinking about a red card here. You'll see the number 11 beats him, and the way the number 2 dives in is certainly reckless. I don't think it's enough for serious foul play, but it's not a good tackle. A reckless tackle in football is a yellow card, and excessive force, or what we call serious foul play, is a red card. Reckless is defined by when a player acts with disregard to the danger to or consequences for an opponent, and they must be cautioned. Using excessive force, which would be a red card, is when a player exceeds the necessary use of force and or endangers the safety of the opponent and must be sent off. For me, this doesn't quite tip into the threshold of using excessive force or endangering the safety of the opponent. Even though he does catch him on the ankle, it's not a good tackle at all, as we can see, but there's not quite enough force there for me to think that that's a red card. We then get a really interesting call with this shout for a back pass. I wave it away. I didn't think it was a back pass. And to be honest, from my angle, I didn't have a great view of it in the moment. I'm kind of looking at his back. I know he's extended his leg to try and win the ball, but I didn't think it was a deliberate pass in the moment. So in football, you're allowed to pass the ball back to your goalkeeper. However, the goalkeeper is not allowed to pick that ball up if you've deliberately played it to them. Law says it is an indirect free kick if a goalkeeper inside their penalty area commits any of the following offences. Touches the ball with the hand or arm after it has been deliberately kicked to the goalkeeper by a teammate, or receiving it directly from a throw-in. So this doesn't mean that it's an offence just because the defender deliberately kicked it. He would have had to have kicked it deliberately to the goalkeeper. Okay, it had to be an intentional pass to the goalkeeper. So, do we think this is a deliberate pass? The reason I don't, even watching this back, is the defender is at full stretch. Okay, he's left the ground to try and clear the ball. He's trying to knock the ball away from the striker, and it ends up falling to the goalkeeper. I don't think that that is deliberate. Only he will know if he meant to do it. But my judgment in the moment was that is not deliberate. Let me know what you guys think. And then following this corner, we get our biggest decision of the game, a penalty decision. This was as clear as day. The lad beats his man to the ball, he tries to kick it, trips him on the far side. Simple, easy penalty for me to give, and absolutely zero complaints. No card needs to be shown in this situation. It's a careless tackle, and it's a genuine attempt to play the ball. It's not dogso, so there's absolutely no card needed here. So now the team in red are 2-0 up. There's not long left, so there are some things I start thinking about as a referee. Okay, delaying the restart is going to become prominent, and the team that are losing might feel like, well, they've got nothing else to lose, so behaviour might get a little bit tetchy. So when the scoreline changes, the behaviour changes, and that's something I try and keep in mind when I'm out there refereeing. And that's exactly what happens here. So the ball gets played in from a throw-in. I give a foul against red here, and the number 8 starts to dribble the ball away after the fact. That is obviously delaying the restart, and then we get a reaction from the blue number 10. You'll hear all the commotion, okay, everyone kicking off about it, and my assistant had seen it as well as he buzzed me on my arm, but I had a really clear view of what had happened. I knew that the lad hadn't struck the red player in the head. It was simply just a push, and so we go and deal with it. We tell the lad to get up and come over to me, as I know he's not actually injured, and the two players come together and it seems amicable. So we get them up and we pull them over for a chat. When I'm doing this, I obviously want to bring them away from the commotion, bring them away from the crowd. You don't want to do this with other players around. I can just isolate the two of them and talk to them as they are. I say to the red player, look, when I blow the whistle, you cannot carry the ball away like that. Okay, that's delaying the restart. And you absolutely cannot put your hands on someone's head. Okay, so you're both going to get a yellow card. You for delaying the restart, you for aggressive attitude. And then I show them both a yellow card. Where we're going to get some disagreement here is on the definition of violent conduct. Violent conduct is when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against an opponent when not challenging for the ball, or against a teammate, team official, match official, spectator, or any other person, regardless of whether contact is made. In addition, a player who, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with the hand or arm is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. How you want to interpret this as a referee when you're out on the pitch is up to you. My interpretation of what happened in this scenario is a push is not a strike. There's no way that the amount of force that player used is violent, in my opinion. Yes, it's aggressive, it's not really football, but for me this is not violent. I think this is simply a push. He's caught him on the back of the neck, back of the head, and so for me this is just a yellow card and I can deal with both players. We're coming towards the end of the game, it's a playoff final. There's absolutely no need for me to send a player off here, in my opinion. You guys may disagree and that is totally fine. You wouldn't be wrong to give a red card here, but that is not what I thought was best in the moment, so I didn't. And then because the team in red are 2-0 up, they obviously go to hold the ball in the corner. For the first time ever, I actually came off the pitch so I could get a view on what was happening. I was outside of the touchline, which will look really strange on my Ref 6 heat map. But then the blue team break and we have to make a sprint very late on in the game. For the first time ever refereeing, I felt cramp in my calves because I'd ran just over 12 kilometers. And because I was so tired, I tripped over a blade of grass. The blue team go forward. Unfortunately, nothing comes of it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. As always, thank you so much for watching. I've got some big plans this summer, so stay tuned. Thank you as always, and I will see you guys next week.